Hull's right side. Hurrell in particular looked like he was playing in quicksand.
Steve Pye says, from a Hull FC perspective, you couldn't have asked for more from the first game of the season. Great defensive work, powerful all over the pitch and quality when required. Special mention to Andre Savelio, who was superb and nice to see after his injuries. Hopefully we can follow it up with a similar performance on Friday.
Brian Davies said, same old Leeds, pretty average. FC looked very good, but I expect they'll fade as usual. Great to see Headingley packed for both games. Yeah, the double header itself definitely worked.
Yeah. And finally, AK Steel 69 said, in the 50s, when Hull were winning titles, they had a formidable set of forwards, which became known throughout the game as the Panzer Pack. The Panzer Pack is back. Hull made a controlled return to Super League. Nothing fancy, nothing too extravagant, just enough to win and set a solid foundation of a pudding of a pitch against a very youthful Leeds side. Points of note were Shaw's passing game and Savelio's offload.
We did get a couple more in that just snuck on the rundown today. Langers said, dominant pack, dominant backline, Super League's best facial hair. It's too early to call Hull as genuine contenders, but I have heard several of KR's pack have suddenly had family emergencies taking them out of the country. And Scoot said, Hull looked strong from 1 to 17, particularly impressed with Mau, rhymes with now. She says it's Mau, not Mau. I've said there's a apostrophe in there. It must be there for some reason. Anyway, she's particularly impressed with Mau, Sao and Savelio. Interesting to see where Kelly will fit in. Hull FC were very strong. I mean, the game was pretty stagnant early on, as both sides kind of tried to feel each other out, but it exploded, didn't it, with that Ratu Nulongo break down the sidelines, Largo, however you pronounce it. He did make Hurrell look a right fool there, and found Carlos Tumavavi supporting, and it was just an absolute fantastic moment in the game. And really, from then on, obviously, Hull's already starting to feel like a physical dominance was completely underlined with some great bench play from Satai, and in particular Savelio. They really impressed me both off the bench, and I thought Shaw had some really great moments touched on by AK Steel and a couple of others. There was the cut out pass for one of Ratu's tries, and there was a few other bits and pieces in there, and obviously the support for Savelio's second try assist as well. Highlight moments, obviously, Tumavavi's try, and a special mention to the Bowden try as well. I love a try that's worked between the forwards, and also Savelio clearly wasn't the target of that pass, but took it in anyway and made something brilliant out of it, which I think is fantastic. I did feel a little cheated that Handley couldn't get that diving effort down, though. I mean, after standing all of the second half in the pissing down rain on the Western Terrace, that would have been like a crowning highlight moment, because it would have been fantastic. But it was just a reminder, actually, in the end, of something else that was a continual highlight, and that was Hull's great goal line defence, 2 or 3 last-ditch efforts in the game to deny Leeds. Although, one of the things that came out before the season was about rubbing players' heads and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Ratu definitely he's had a caution for other contrary behaviour, and they've kind of balanced it out by saying the players who came in kind of caused other contrary behaviour too as well. But to me, he should have been penalised for that, and Leeds should have got the ball back on the whole line. But
well, certainly in the 2 friendlies I've seen, that has been penalised both times. So yeah.
But either way, I mean, that aside, Hull FC completely the better side. Quite impressive, really. And forget the other players thing. I think sometimes Houghton actually is a negative in attack, because he ties himself out so much. I think having another player in at double half that can sort of combine with him but play broadly the same style, because Jordan Johnston, I think, is a very similar mould to Danny Houghton, whereas Jez Litton was a different type of hooker. I think Hull can keep playing the same way, and that's what this team's built to do, keep playing the same way and hope Connor, Shaw and Ratu explode off the back of it. And I think that's what we might see from them this season on this evidence. Well done to Hull FC.
Yeah. I suppose that we should laugh at Leeds for at least 10 seconds. Matt Pryor should probably have stuck to cricket.
Oh, he was absent, I thought, in this game.
He seemed to do the same sort of tackle that, who am I thinking of does it? Someone I used to play with, but there's someone else where they kind of just flap hands round the face really quickly, like they're sort of fanning your nose to try and make a tackle that way. And they look ridiculous. And I think he is somewhere between early Trent Merrin and Beau Falloon at the moment in terms of comedy lead signings. The whole thing with the kit was bizarre, and mainly because you get told by the RFL months in advance what kit you're wearing at any given game. So they give you a spreadsheet at the beginning of the season that says...
If shared a spreadsheet showing the front of the kits only,
yeah,
Leeds will have looked at that and thought, right, well, there's half of this kit's white, so it shouldn't be too hard to tell from the standard on the cameras, etc. But when you actually saw it in reality, and the back was all black and the shoulders were all black, and you were basically trying to like pick between the legs to see whose shorts the player had on to figure out which player it was or not. I don't know if that was an aspect of it, but I know what you're saying, yeah. It does seem strange that they hadn't ironed it out before the game. I think that's what it was. I don't think they realised that the whole kit was actually a black and white shirt rather than a white and black shirt.
Yeah, well, dirty Leeds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway. Right, let's move on.
Well, standings. We start 2020 as 2019 ended. St Helens on top. Hull FC, Huddersfield, Castleford, Hull and Wigan join them in the winners' half of the table, with Warrington, Wakefield, Toronto, Catalans, Leeds and Salford occupying the other half. Stat line of the week has to go to a losing player, which I don't necessarily like doing, but the two standout numbers were Cameron Smith's tackling numbers and the player who's going to get it, which was Hakim Miloudi, who had basically tipping all the attacking stats with 5 tackle busts, 197 metres, 2 clean breaks and 3 successful offloads, and as well as that, a try and a try assist. So well done, Hakim Miloudi.
Yeah, well done.
Who was your player of the week?
Probably Bevan French.
I'm going to go Caesar because I think that surprised me more, that he commanded that side so well so quickly. But highlight.
To be fair, he did lead a whole uprising of apes, so it's not surprising that Caesar did well.
But highlight of the week, I'm going to go with Bevan French, just from a purely, it was the magical moment from a Wigan fan point of view, and not think too much about some of those nice tries that Hull FC scored.
See, I was going to say no, Largo. I'm gonna back the other side.
Oof.
I know.
Dangerous times. In the predictions, me and Alan both went 3 out of 6, although a very different 3 out of 6, I think, from last week's game. So not a strong performance from us. But Tim, you hinted at it before, and you are leading the way in the host Super Brew, which is how we're going to track the host predictions this year. After 1 week, followed by Scoots, Alan, then I'm holding the wooden spoon. In terms of the big Super Brew that everyone's involved in, Steve Pye is leading the way after week 1, so well done to Hull fan Steve. A new contributor, regular style this year, so that's class. That is leading the way. And the Fantasy League, Scott Hilton, who is a Leaf fan, is leading the way with a weekly score of 613. I think this 21-man squad is damaging for my fantasy situation, because I don't really understand who's injured and who's not injured, because there's too many players. Because, like, for example, Toronto had to name Gareth O'Brien in the 21-man squad, even though he was not going to play, but I didn't realise that. Anyway, thanks to everyone for getting in the fan views. Please make sure you do the same on next week's games. We'd love to get as many as this week. So look out for the Google form, links on Twitter. I'll put something on Facebook at some point. Go to the episode blog post and there'll be permanent links there as well on superleaguepod.blogspot.com or something like that. superleaguepod.com, I think. Anyway, thanks to all of those fan reviews. We're now going to try and quickly as we can cover off everything else.
So now moving into the Championship, and it was round 1 in the Championship, and it finished Dewsbury 10, Lee 36, and Toulouse 22, York 10, and we had a fan view on this one.
Yeah, the R-League game, the Championship game of the week, and Genghis Campbell got in touch. He said, a Rugby League hipster's wet dream for the new R-League. Great home. Error stream first half by Toulouse. York had no intentions of having a difficult second album kind of season because they looked the better side for about 60 minutes. White got sent off for a nasty kick to a York player's face, but after that Toulouse seemed to knuckle down. Noisy at the end. Stade T going to be a cauldron come the playoffs. Hopefully they can build a crowd there and the brass band will play and all of that. I saw most of this game, but I didn't see Lloyd White sending off, so I can't comment on that, but York seem to give as much as they got for the most part.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that on Thursday. Batley 18, Featherstone 38. Bradford 14, London 18 in what looked like a game from about 30 years ago with the horrible pitch there. Halifax 18, Sheffield 17. And Oldham 6, Widnes 36.
Oh, from Paul got in touch. Paul O'Brien said a massive away following from the Vikings invaded Oldham this afternoon. A good start to the season for the Vikings and a win under the belt.
And it finished Whitehaven 0, Swinton 14.
Told you, don't write off Swinton. In the standings, Widnes, Leigh, Featherstone, Swinton, Toulouse, London and Halifax are in the top half with one win each. Sheffield, Bradford, York, Whitehaven, Batley, Dewsbury and Oldham are in the bottom half as losers.
There we go. And there weren't any other games, so there we go.
No, that was it for this week. So we'll move, unless you had any commentary to make on the championship games, we'll move swiftly on to our predictions.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Predictions time then. Super League round 2 and Thursday night it all kicks off on Sky Sports, a repeat of last year's Challenge Cup final as Warrington host St Helens. I'm going to give you first go at this one, Tim.
Saints quite comfortably, I think. Just watching that performance the other night and they just completely tear it apart. I can't see anything past that.
Yeah, Warrington, for as much as flamboyance with their offloading game and stuff like that, which could be enjoyed and applauded, they only scored one try off a possession that they never should have had because it was a ball strip. Let's face it, their attack wasn't actually as incisive, so I still think Saints will be able to manage that. Saints by 10.
And they're going to be a senior forward down as well.
Well, I don't think they're losing out too much because he was gassed for most of that game, but I still think even without Koo, one thing that's in Warrington's favour is if they get on top early and maybe start Philbin because he needs to be playing more minutes, and put some pressure on the young lad Wellesby, maybe there's a glimmer. But other than forcing errors that way, I don't see it. So Saints by 10. Friday night, 7:45 p.m. down the lane, Castleford host Wigan. I'm back in my side. I think this will be a close game though. I do think Castleford probably had a better chance to tune up with their round 1 games than Wigan did, which was more disrupted, and Wigan will have a hooking issue. But I still want to be confident Wigan by 4.
Yeah, I'm saying Wigan. I think that's all the reasons you've alluded to, and just that residual quality I think will be there.
The Sky game on Friday night is the big one, the first Hull derby of the season. 7:45 p.m. kickoff, of course. Hull FC hosting Hull Kingston Rovers. It's your team. It's your go first.
Yeah, well, I'm only going one way, aren't I? Hull KR by a Ryan Brearley drop goal.
I think FC by 18. I think their powerhouse pack against your young, resilient pack, no doubt about it. But I think at home, big crowd, I expect the Black and Whites to overcome you by three or four scores. So
we're entertaining Friday night as well, so I won't be able to watch it live. I'll have to suffice with some text updates.
Plan your
don't even go there. It's a long story this weekend.
Saturday, 2 p.m. Salford hosting Toronto. I just think, even though Salford were way off against the St Helens side. I think Toronto will be scratching around already for a squad, clearly. Whereas Salford, I think, can still go into next week pretty much with the same team as last week and give them the opportunity to bounce back that they'll want. I'm going to go Salford by 14.
Yeah, I'm saying Salford as well. Probably slightly less on the margin, but around that sort of Mark, I think, at home, they'll just have that bit of an edge against that misfunctioning Toronto side. Moving into Sunday, Huddersfield